with natural resources, especially in Africa. Because largely nobody has demarcated the land and said this is yours and here's your title to be able to prove it, and there's a court in case somebody tries to take your stuff. There's this place full of gold, silver, oil, uranium, all sorts of stuff, and everybody's just diving into it and trying to get as much as they can. But what happens when everybody's diving into it? The strongest guy gets it all. How do you ensure you're the strongest guy? Most of the time you want to get weapons and keep away the other guys. Most of the time you want to form a group with your friends and say, okay, we're going to fight for this together, we're going to keep away these other people, and then we're going to share the spoils. And even then, people double cross each other. They'll form a group, then the strongest one or the most savvy one inside that group will get these other guys to fight for him, and then double cross them and go away with what he has to do. And then what happens if they have to sell the stuff they get? Of course, they're not going to just take the gold and keep it to themselves. They have to sell it somewhere in the market. They're not going to take the oil and drink it. They have to sell it to whoever out there wants to get the oil. Most of the time, imagine in that chaotic situation, it is hard to build pipelines and to set up neat infrastructure, and therefore to actually have efficient extraction of these minerals. Because everybody's fighting, there's a lot of chaos. You see it on the news every day about Africa, how many places are in turmoil. You cannot have proper investment and build proper buildings and have the administration office of the oil company and this and that. And there are all these oil companies and all these other people who are interested in these minerals who live outside that country. So basically, most of these places usually have a government. And who has a monopoly of force? Who usually has the most weapons in a country? It's the government, right? The government has a military, they have an army, and so they're usually the strongest guy around. So basically what the government will do, the government, unlike the parent who we talked about there, for some reason in most African countries, they haven't figured out that the best thing to do to sort out this whole mess is to demarcate stuff and where people have lived for years and years, give them rights to what they have, so that in case somebody wants to take their stuff, they do the normal thing that you can do peacefully, which is to contract. Right? Contract, yes. Contracting basically means I want your t-shirt and you'll say, give me $10 and I'll give you the t-shirt. And then I can negotiate and say, I don't really have $10, why don't you take $8? And then we talk about it, and you say, okay, if you're going to give me only $8, you have to throw in a drink in the evening with my friends, or you have to throw in something else. It's basically a better way for property to pass from one person to another than shooting somebody in the head and taking their stuff, right? But the government here is not like that smart parent. In our day-to-day lives, we've realized that it helps to divide things amongst your kids and say what belongs to who. But what these guys do instead is, because there's a lot of demand out here for this stuff to be sold, they basically, especially in this one example right now that's happening in the world, Sudan, I'll just use that as an example. I don't know if you've heard what's happening in Sudan of late. You come to the point where you feel like you have to kill a whole group of people. These people must be really sitting on you. And what happens in Africa? Africa is made up of many hundreds of thousands of tribes. Let me describe to you what a tribe is, because I discovered people in America don't know what a tribe is. Now Africa has, okay, let me try and draw a map of Africa. It's not a very good one, but that's kind of what it looks like. And it has 53 countries. In here there are 53 countries. My country is right here. I'll try and draw it. It kind of looks like a t-shirt. There's the arm, there's the body of the t-shirt. Then down there it goes kind of like that. This is Kenya. is one of the smaller countries in Africa. Kenya only has 42 tribes. What comes to mind when somebody says tribe?
Indians.
Different language, different
Language, yeah, different language, culture, religion. Very good, you're right on language. But tribes are not necessarily like 10 groups, a group of 10 people or 20 people. My tribe comes from, this is the Lake Victoria on the western part of Kenya. Lake Victoria is, well, my tribe lives on the shores of Lake Victoria. And this is the Sudan, bordering Kenya to the north. It's the biggest country in Africa. And my tribe came from a part of Sudan called Bahr el Ghazal. If you've ever seen Sudanese people, they look like me. They're dark and slim and they're very tall. Bahr el Ghazal. And we always lived along the River Nile. And many hundreds of years ago, maybe not many hundreds of years ago, maybe 200 years ago, we started migrating from down along the Nile and settled. So you'll find people who speak my language, they settled all along the Nile, and the last of us arrived in Kenya and have settled around the shore. The ones of us who got to Kenya are currently 8 million. So my tribe in Kenya is 8 million people. It's not 50 people, it's not 60 people, it's not 100,000, it's 8 million. That's a big tribe. And that's what, there's some other smaller tribes in Africa. You would say perhaps the smallest tribe you could find would be about 100,000 people. But that's like a very, very small tribe, and maybe they're diminishing because they're being married by other people, or they're moving around a lot and dispersing, but mostly tribes are growing. They're not becoming smaller. Now, when you have a very, very strong government, when you have a dictatorial government, what do we mean? This is a government where basically the government runs most businesses. The government has so many rules about Greg, can you get some chalk? Oh yeah, there it is. So many rules about every aspect of your life. In Kenya, for example, if you're just walking on the street after 6 o'clock in the evening, a cop can stop you, and if you don't show some form of identification, they take you to jail. You haven't done anything, you're just walking. You have to show identification at any time a policeman asks you for it. So there's something called a national identity card that you always have to carry. Now this is so funny because this law was actually first put in place by the British when they were in Kenya, when they were the colonial power. And they were using it, they put all the native people in reserves, and you were not supposed to be walking outside the reserve at a certain time, and they were trying to keep them all in there. And that was the purpose of the pass. At that time it was called a pass. But then most African countries got their independence in the 60s, but they never went back and looked into these laws and find out which ones were necessary and which ones were not. Africans just came into the instrument of government and kind of just went along with all the laws. For some reason they thought, see, when the British first came, Kenya did not exist. These boundaries did not exist. All these boundaries that form African countries did not exist. All these colonial powers came, and one day they had this meeting in Brussels and kind of divided up, because they were also fighting over Africa. It was a problem of the tragedy of the commons. So they had to kind of demarcate. They were conflicting and fighting about it. They had to demarcate whose part belongs to who. So you stay on your side, don't come over here. So they basically divided the continent into countries. And Kenya, all these 42 tribes who were living separate lives, had different systems of how they did their things, and basically just traded with each other, suddenly found themselves as one country. But to run this place as a country, the British had to bring in a system of government to run all these people together. Am I losing some of you? I'll go through this boring part really quickly. So
it's good. It's very
This is not boring.
Yeah, it's not boring. No.
I'm just trying to put a context to the conflicts in Africa so you know what you're working with, kind of. Yeah, so these 42 tribes suddenly find themselves as a nation. The British already had their system of government in their country, and they tried to apply it here. They had all British administrators, so they basically put together, there was a parliament, there were local authorities, there was a property system that they put together, but amongst these rules that they brought together that made the place a nation were all these other rules that limited people's freedoms to a certain extent. For example, for the British to acquire Kenyan land, they of course had to totally ignore the property rights of the people who lived there in the first place. So while they brought lots of useful rules to help govern the nation, there were some rules that were not so useful, and so basically they declared all of the land in Kenya crown land. At that time the king was sitting on the throne in England, and then the queen took over, and all the land was declared crown land. Okay. Then the Kenyans fight the British, and they go to London and try to figure out what British law is, and they try to negotiate with the British, and eventually the British give us independence in 1963. When they give us independence in 1963, everything that the British were running is given over to the Kenyan government. It becomes, so instead of this being crown land, it is now government land. Okay? And this is what happened in most countries in Africa. The Africans came into power, all of the land became government land. So people are living on land, but largely it is government land. When somebody has the property to something, what do they say? What did we say here? They're the ones with the right of possession. So basically the people have possession of the land, but it is a right of the government. So the government can kick you out anytime. If somebody gives you their t-shirt, they can say anytime, give it back to me, right? The people are living on the land, but who has the right of disposing, destroying, or renting it out? It's the government. So you're living on a piece of land. Anytime some politician has a friend who wants to do a favor, to get another favor, he can say, I'll give you that piece of land in that place. The people who live there have to find another place to go to. If you go to the court says, well, sorry, it's government land. And basically the politicians, who employs the judges? In Kenya, it's the president who appoints the judges. The president, again, I go back to the concept of the tribe. When the president comes to power, he speaks a different language from all the other tribes. His culture is so different. Now, cultures from one tribe to another are as different as the Chinese culture would be to the Indian culture. They are not close. The languages are so different. They're as different as English is from any African tribal language. I can't understand what somebody who's not from my tribe is saying when they're talking in their language. I can't even recognize words unless I've lived with them for a while. So they're that different. If you came into power, before you came into power, you were just some tribal person living with your tribe. Who are the first people you trust? Who you want to make your ministers, and so on and so forth? They're people from your tribe. So mostly, if you go to African countries, if the president is from one tribe, all his ministers are from the same tribe. Ministers, the civil servants, these are the people who work in all the ministries of government. And basically, if you have connections, if you're related to any one of these people, you get the jobs, you know? So mostly it's a tribal thing. And the government is just full of people of one tribe. And if you're not from that tribe, you're kind of stuck. Remember, you're a squatter on government land. They can throw you off your land anytime. You can't. Now, how do people accumulate wealth, for example? How does the value of property grow, usually?
They develop it.
You develop it, right? You develop it, you get a mortgage, you put up a house, and then somebody else puts up another nice house next to you, and the area is becoming nicer and nicer. There's some stores opening up, and the value of your land is going higher and higher because people want to live there versus another place where nobody's quite developing the land. Or maybe you have a lake nearby, and so people want that view, and the place is developing nicely. Nice people are moving around. There aren't any rogues who are beating people. There's security in the area. What gives you the impetus to try and develop your land and improve security and things like that? Ownership. is knowing that it is yours, that no one will take away from you, that you're putting your life's work into it. Every day you wake up in the morning and go and do stuff because this is yours, and you know that if one day you'll die, unless you sell it to somebody and get value for it, you leave it to your children. You know that for sure. But this whole system is totally warped because most people in Africa can't do that. Now forget that they can't, people are adding value to them because you have to go on with your life. Sometimes the system is horrible, but you can't just sit there and not do stuff if your country is not at war. It's only about 13 countries out of the 53, 13 to 15 at most if you count, that are plagued with civil war. Most of the places, somehow people have, figured out how to live peaceably with each other, how to negotiate things, but the law is not quite firm on protecting stuff. The courts still don't quite enforce contracts, and so they are stifled in certain ways, but they're largely, the place is largely peaceful. So people will go on with their lives, and you have to wake up every morning, you have to try and make money to send your kids to school. The world is moving faster and faster. If you don't get an education, your kids will stay poor. So people are, constantly trying to make money, and they have to work with what they have. They do this, but they're so stifled because how do people get money to do big projects like build a house? You have to get a loan. Okay. You have to get a loan, meaning you have to borrow. Okay? If you have to borrow money, usually what you have, somebody's going to give you a big chunk of money. How do they know you're going to pay back? You have to have something called collateral, right? Now, can anybody describe to us what collateral is?
Something of value.
Something of value that the guy who's giving you money can hold on to so that in case you don't pay up, he can sell it and get his money back. You can only give collateral. Now, again, we go back to the concept of property. You can't give out something that's not yours. Okay? Especially people who are lending out money, they have to know that whatever you're giving up that they can hold on to is actually yours. So when it's time for them to sell it, because the contract says you have given it up to them, they can legitimately sell it and get their money. If it's not yours, they don't want it. You can't go with your brother's house and say, I'll give you my brother's house, just give me the money. They'll say, where's your title to it? If you don't have title to it, you don't have the right to give it up to be held against a loan. So most people in Africa cannot borrow money from a bank, from financial institutions, unless, of course, they're well connected. Then they can get a title very easily. So imagine your whole tribe is living under the auspices of another tribe. They basically kind of are holding you hostage. Your life can't quite move. And people are not oblivious of the fact that they can't move. These concepts are understood by people. They see other people who are well connected, going ahead with their lives, building homes, doing all sorts of things, and you're just there, you're stuck. Somehow no one is going back to the drawing board and saying, we need to, what the parent here was doing, that we need to divide up this stuff and make sure ownership is clear. Nobody's going back to the drawing board and doing what the parent here should do to remove this conflict. And so usually the only answer people see is, let's get rid of these guys. Let's get rid of them. We need to be in that position. They have sat on us for too long. We are, you finally, one day you wake up, these guys, all of their kids have had money, have gone to study abroad. They come back because they're the well-educated ones, they're exposed, they're setting up business links with people abroad. They're just becoming wealthier, 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 going, gone. And guess what you are relegated to? You have to be the worker in their home. Your children has to be the workers in their home. You're always calling them sir. You basically end up subservient to them. And you wonder to yourself, we have just as much brains as they do, And people get really angry over time. Then a leader arises out of your tribe And he says, we can change this once and for all. And people start little by little propaganda. This is exactly what happened in Rwanda. Rwanda, these two tribes, the Hutu and the Tutsis, and basically these Tutsis, when the British left, the British kind of liked the Tutsis when they were around. The Tutsis are kind of good-looking people. Everybody admits this. And they are, so, and I don't know what other attributes they have, but the British kind of like them. So when the British were around, they dealt with them a lot. The Tutsis got to understand how this British system was working. The British and the French, they were colonized by the French at different times, and the British too. So they were always kind of in favor with the people in power. They got to learn how things were running. So when the country finally got independence, they knew what stuff was about, and they're the ones who came into power. But the way the system was set up, of course, they were set up like that. And so they're the ones who got this education and got going. And these are the guys who remained uneducated and, you know, kind of just workers and kind of the underclass. And so these guys one time overthrow these people's government. They come into power. They decide we're going to take care of these people once and for all. In 100 days, that's how bad it was. They killed 800,000 of them. It was like the alien thing. It's like snuff out every little one of them, the babies. We don't want them regenerating. But, you know, because we've tried negotiations with them before, it doesn't work. Now imagine if you're set up like this. If you have all the comforts, you don't really have to work for stuff much, you don't have to compete with anyone much, so you're just well connected to the government, you know your stuff will always work out. If you want some property, you just pick up the phone and call somebody. Is it a position that you think you would easily want to relinquish? Not really. We don't like to have it as easy as we can get it. So most of the time, the people in government, they just add law upon law upon law to ensure that their position is secured. You've heard this, the saying that power corrupts? Yeah. So you can imagine if you have that much power, how much it corrupts. But this concept of property is so central